Hey, this is Chelsea Dupre, host of CJ and Cell. Thanks for listening to the following podcast on Public House Media.
This is Rachel Mullins, host of #NoFilterFriday here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my new show, #NoFilterFriday, where we talk about all of the sexual misconduct allegations swirling around Hollywood. A new show drops every Friday at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of #NoFilterFriday. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Welcome to Let Me Be Forward. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. Oh my goodness, history has been made. Thank you, Forward Madison, getting that first so crucial, so important victory. Can you not still taste that first goal? Can you not lavish in Shaun Russell's second? Oh, holy moly. I'm Baxter Colburn. Welcome to Let Me Be Forward. I'm thrilled that you're here for this week's episode. We've got a great show in store for you. Not only do we have great guests, not only are we talking about a win, but we are also talking about the home opener this coming Saturday against the Greenville Triumph. Are you ready? Are you ready for this home opener? Are you ready for another, hopefully, Forward Madison FC victory? Because I know I am, and this is going to be one that you are not going to want to miss. First and foremost, let's dive into some of the bigger things that we need to hit on. Forward Madison FC, getting that first victory, massive. Let Me Be Forward, continuing to grow as a podcast, massive. Home opener this Saturday, check, massive. And, oh, what's that? We've got some big interviews this week. Fantastic. Let me tell you who's here this week. Daryl Shore, of course, will be here for his weekly chat, as we always do. Shaun Russell is here this week. Yes, Mr. Shaun Russell is here, the defender that scored the game-winning goal to seal the 3 points down in Orlando. And then the founder of the Forward Union supporters, Konnor Arnaud-Leblanc, is here also to get a dive into our supporters section. But first, before all of that, let's dive into some news and notes from around the soccer world. I need to do a little bit of housekeeping really fast because I made a big mistake, and you think I would know this, but I made a mistake last episode telling you about when the live show is that we are doing for Let Me Be Forward down in Milwaukee. It's not May 4th. I'm playing in a flag football tournament that day in Door County, if anybody cares, but it's not May 4th. It's May 11th. May 11th at The Hive in Milwaukee, 720 North Milwaukee Street, Suite 300. Let Me Be Forward. We'll be doing a live show from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll be doing a recording, probably about 30 to 40 minutes, talking about soccer in Madison, in Milwaukee, have a guest or two on. I'll be there. Maddie will be there. We'll have some fun things going on. There's free beer, free food, etc. And you can RSVP to that event or just find out more details by going to The Hive on Facebook or going to the Public House Media Facebook page and clicking on the Events tab. Other than that, let's take a look at the information from this past week in USL League One action. The big ones are starting essentially with that 2-1 victory Friday night for Forward Madison. We'll get into that later in the show. Chattanooga, they were up 3-0 against Tormenta. Stephen Beattie putting on a clinic. My goodness, sir, take a bow. 2 goals from him. They beat Tormenta 3-2. And the Kickers down in Richmond getting a 1-0 victory over Greenville. So that makes this coming Saturday even more juicy because that means that Forward Madison, who currently, if you're keeping track on your standings, sits in 9th place with 3 points. But if they win, they could find themselves as high as maybe 6 or 5, depending on how some of those other clubs below them, or much rather above them, do on that weekend. It's interesting to see where the standings are right now. Tormenta still in first place with 8 points. Lansing in second with 6. North Texas with 6. In third, Chattanooga. They've been the fun story so far with loss, win, loss, win. We'll see where Chattanooga goes from here. But Greenville, they lost their last game. They won 2 before that, and they lost their first game. I think Greenville is hungry for another win, but we'll dive into Greenville. We'll dive in with all that with Coach, with Shaun, with Konnor, my thoughts as well when we get into it. So first and foremost, our first player interview, our first interview on the show today as a whole is the defender Shaun Russell, who's got a phenomenal story, and he sits down with our very own Maddie Cum. Maddie, Shaun, take it away.
I'm here with Shaun Russell from Forward Madison FC. We are enjoying some beautiful Madison weather. We were just talking about how it's his first time in Wisconsin, so I'm glad that the weather is really cooperating for us right now. So thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Right, so you have a very diverse background. You spent some time in the National Premier Soccer League. You transitioned into USL. Tell me about the past teams you've been with and maybe what's different about Forward Madison.
Yes, for me, my story is really different from most professional players who, for some it's easier to make that jump. For myself, I've had to go through some obstacles to get here, but I won't change a thing. I started with my local team in Virginia Beach City FC. It was for my first time in the NPSL. It was the first time with the team. We did pretty well, won in the first round of Open Cup. Second round against the Richmond Kickers. We didn't get the result we did, but, we made it to the playoffs that year. And the following year, I was with the New York Cosmos B team under a great organization, great club, historical. So those are my two teams that were pretty great in the NPSL. As far as Madison, it's nice to be here. It's my first time here. Great city, it's very lively. The people are always out and about doing something, fishing, all those things at the lake. So I've got to experience some of those things. I've been at the lake this past weekend, so that was pretty nice.
Nice, love that. But you're talking about those obstacles, and I think that can even make for a great story. Is that something, how would you want to inspire other people maybe who want to make that jump and maybe they've, hit some struggles throughout the way? How do you want to inspire them?
I just say don't give up on your dreams. Some people will always tell you, try something else. It's not going to work out. But, if you really want to get to that next level, if you're passionate about it, those are the things you have to do. Practice every day, do all the little things to get there. And, for some will get there and others will take long. But, just keep pushing, keep dreaming, and you'll get to there.
Well, I would say those struggles, those obstacles definitely paid off because this past weekend, let's talk about it. I know everyone's so excited about it. You scored the 70th minute winner in Forward Madison FC's first ever USL League One victory. Tell me what was going through your mind when you saw the ball hit the post, you were in position, you had possession of the ball, and you sunk it.
For myself being a center back, most defenders don't get to score that often. So when I saw the ball just pop in front of me, my eyes wide and open, and I just was really focused at that moment in time not to head it over and just give us the lead. And my celebration wasn't the best, but for, like I said, me as a defender, we don't get to this chance that often, so I just kind of looked a little off, and my players and the teammates gave me a lot for it.
Well, even watching the game, watching the video back, it's just a moment to remember. And I know everyone was so excited. I saw so much on social media about it. Everyone was freaking out. So that was such a cool moment. But, the previous two games, as great as this game was, the previous two games didn't go the way, you guys wanted them to. What do you think was different this game? What pushed you over the edge and made you secure this win?
One thing that we talk about before our games is, can we get the lead before halftime, or can we go into halftime with a tie? We were down 1-0, and it was one of those things we talked about is having heart, fighting back and, digging ourselves out the hole. And we talked about once we get that first goal, everything will fall in place for us, and that's exactly what happened. Josiel had a fantastic goal, the first goal in club history, and then from there we kept fighting, we kept digging, and the second goal obviously came, and we just kind of played the game to the end and fought to the end, and we finally got our first victory of the season.
Speaking of fighting, Don Smart received those 2 yellow cards leading to the red card. How did you hold off against Orlando, and what was your strategy to ensure that having, one man down, 10 people was going to be enough?
Once that happened, we had to change formations. We had to bring everybody back, sit in a little bit deeper. And one of those things that we just took pride in, keeping the ball, being smart with our choices on the ball. And, again, it's just fighting to the end, and like I said, it paid off. Unfortunate for Don Smart, he'll be out for this weekend, but, we have great players to replace him, and we're looking forward to this coming up weekend.
Exactly, and speaking of the energy that's going to be there on Saturday, everyone's so excited. Like I said, Twitter was blowing up after the win. The support for this team is incredible, and I think it's honestly unmatched from everything that I've seen. What does that, crazy support mean to you, and how do you think the inaugural home opener will be, knowing that all those supporters, different supporter groups will be there?
I think, with the biggest sport, like I said, all over social media, those are things that we can't really, get sidetracked with. It's, even with the biggest supporters and, in Madison, I think once the game comes, we just have to, let all that out and just focus on, the game at task. And then giving the crowd what they want, which is a victory. Coming off a victory in Orlando, we want to continue to push forward and give the crowd what they want, which is a first home win. And we talk about when we play at home, we don't lose, and we're going to take pride in that this year.
Well, we are all so excited for it. We're all so excited to be there. Wishing you the best of luck. Thanks for sitting down and talking to me.
It was nice talking to you too. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully the fans will enjoy this coming up weekend and for many games to come. Thank you.
I'm sure they will. Back to you, Baxter.
Welcome back to Let Me Be Forward. I am your host, Baxter Colburn. As we get into our coach interview this week with Coach Daryl Shore, it's great because we get to talk about a victory this week, the very first one in not only Forward Madison history, but of course on Let Me Be Forward in USL play. Of course, there's been preseason victories, but now we get the opportunity to talk about a historic first victory. And Coach, I got to ask because I know there was a collective sigh of relief around the Madison area as soon as that first goal from Nunes hit the back of the net. But did your shoulders kind of just drop down a little bit and take a nice deep breath when that first goal went, or how were you feeling when that finally happened?
Yeah, we were, felt like it was a long time coming. Thought we, again, as we've talked in the previous shows, had played well enough to get points in our first two games, and so now to be rewarded for all the guys' hard work with the way the first half went, still feeling like we played okay and we're a little bit hard done by to be down 1-0, but to come out of halftime with the response that our guys did, and for Josiel to score the first one and then obviously set up the second one with his free kick, we all, I think, breathed a little bit of sigh of relief, but we're even more excited when the final whistle blew.
Absolutely, and definitely a very interesting first win, of course, coming from behind, but then also having to defend the lead with 9 minutes left with Don Smart going down with that red card. What was the message to the guys at that point when you had the lead and you were so close, but the soccer gods decided to throw just one more wrench in the plans to really make you earn that first win?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the course of the season, you're going to face challenges. And one of the challenges in soccer is sometimes you have a lead and you go down a man. So it's not something that we obviously it's not the situation that we wanted to be in, but at the same time, it's something where throughout the course of training, we do work on situations like this where we're going to be down a man and up a goal. So for the most part, the guys knew how we were going to try and play and how we were going to approach the game had we been down a man and up a goal. So, the guys dug in and did well enough to finish out the game and get the result. Obviously, we would have rather finished 11-11, but circumstances didn't allow it. And again, our defensive effort overall was pretty good again. And to be able to close out the win and get the first points in team history was pretty massive for all of us.
Exactly right. Yeah, that definitely raises the bar, of course, coming home now against Greenville on Saturday. Before we get into Greenville, though, I want to get your thoughts, of course. 3 players from Forward Madison being named to the USL League One Team of the Week: Ryan Coulter, Josiel Nunes, and, of course, Shaun Russell. Give me your takeaways, especially those 3 players. I know the whole team played well, but those 3 players specifically, of course, were all called upon in very specific moments and all showed up, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, Ryan has been solid for the last 2 weeks. Felt like he probably should have been rewarded for his game in Dallas to only give up a penalty.
Completely agree.
And not get on the team for that game. But, all 3 played big parts. Shaun, obviously, not just the goal that he scores, but defensively with us having Wyatt be back in Minnesota on duty with with Minnesota United. Shaun stepped in admirably and has had 2 solid games for us as the left center back. So Good game for him scoring the goal, but also defensively, I thought he was pretty solid on the night, pairing with Konnor on the back line. And Josiel he's a special player, and we knew when we were bringing him in that we were going to have a player who was going to be able to make plays, and it's just fitting to see him finally get on the score sheet, but also just the overall game. It's not just the stuff he does in the attacking part of the field, but he really does put the work in defensively and does a really good job of making sure that he plays on both sides of the ball, and that's what makes him the player that he is. And it's just icing on the cake when he can score the goal and then set up the second goal. But his overall effort is pretty solid.
Completely agreed, and I think that was definitely shown numerous times throughout the match. I've got to ask because there's been obviously various starting lineups these first three matches, and now going into Greenville. One big thing that we see so many teams try to stay consistent with, even if they're tinkering with certain lineups, though, is the back line. Are we going to see this consistent now, these back four? Obviously, I know you said Wyatt's with Minnesota right now. I guess, number one, is he coming back anytime soon? And number two, if not, is the four we saw this last weekend going to be the story moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's obviously dealing with some injuries and now some suspensions from their last game. So for us, it's day by day as to when Wyatt is going to return to us. We've got some tough decisions to make, but you're also, as a coach, you're kind of hard pressed when your back line is playing as well as the four of these guys are. And we've got a tough decision to make in goal this coming week because Brian's coming back to full health and he's been very sharp in training. But at the same time, Ryan's had two solid games and deserves to keep playing from his end. So the good thing is we've got a solid group of players that understand what their roles are and understand that we're in this for the right reasons to get results for the team. So regardless of the lineup that we put on the field, I think you're going to see everybody buying into what we're trying to do. But you'd have to argue that these back four that played in the last game, it's hard pressed not to give them another chance to get the result at home in our home opener.
Exactly right. So tell me a little bit about what we can expect from Greenville. They've won two and they've lost two. They lost the opener, they won the next two, and they just lost this last weekend on a kind of a very great individualized effort from Richmond on that one goal that they conceded. But they've played some really good teams and they've beat some really good teams, and they've also lost to some good teams.
Yeah, I mean, Greenville's they're a good team, and they've got some really good attacking players. Christopher Bermudez is a solid. They list him as a winger, but he's really a forward. And then Jake Keegan leads the league in shots and has 2 goals for them. So he's really their main guy up top, and is a guy that we're going to have to be aware of. They've got a player, Tyler Polak, who is an attacking left-sided player. So he's a guy that we kind of need to be aware of. And they're solid. I mean, they're coming off a result where they lose 1-0. But again, they if you look at the video, they're going to sit there and tell you that it's a game that they should have won. Akira Fitzgerald in goal for Richmond has a great game, and everything that Greenville did, he either saved or they just missed. So it's a team that's going to pose some challenges for us. It'll be the first time we play a team that essentially plays 3 in the back. So more of a 3-4-3 lineup, where we haven't really played against a team that lines up this way. So it'll pose some interesting challenges for us defensively, but at the same time, we feel like there may be some areas on the field now that we can exploit with our play and with the way we play, that it might be a team that we can get after in certain areas when they just play 3 in the back.
One of the big things that I think is going to, of course, look to try to be exploited is obviously the wing play from Forward Madison, but I think a lot of fans, myself included, are wondering who replaces Don Smart on the wing. Of course, a very good player, a very solid veteran player, but he's now not available. Who steps in your opinion?
It's a good question. It's one that we have to look at. We've got a couple of different guys that we feel like can play in that position. it's an old adage, but I think the line is next man up. So you know, you have
right.
a guy like you have a guy like Jiro Toyama, who started our first game against Chattanooga and can definitely play the position. You've got a guy like Zaire Bartley, who had a really good preseason as a winger, so he's another guy that we can consider. There's some other options. JC Banks has played out wide in previous teams, so he's an option that we could look at and slide Jeff back into the midfield. Jeff was coming off of an injury from the Dallas game, so that's why we kind of had him coming off the bench. He had missed 3 days of training. So we've got options, and you know, we like our group. We like all of our players, and the guys, again, they understand that everybody's in this for the better of the team, and whoever plays in Don's position is going to be a guy that we feel gives us just as good a chance to win as anybody else who plays out there. So we obviously have a day or two more of training to figure that out, but whoever is in for Don isn't going to miss a beat.
Absolutely right. Well, Saturday night is going to be a ton of fun, Coach. I know I'm really excited for that opportunity to finally get to be in the stadium and feel the energy, and I know it's going to be a special one for you and the guys as well. And for me, and of course from the rest of Forward Madison Nation, we want to wish you guys a good luck, of course, and let's go get 3 points on Saturday night.
Well, Baxter, we appreciate it. We know there's a limited number of tickets left. The game is selling like hotcakes, and we're just excited to finally be at home and to be able to play in front of our home crowd, the flock, all the fans, the city of Madison. The lieutenant governor of Wisconsin is going to be in attendance at the game. So it's going to be a special evening, not just for our players, but for the whole city of Madison. And we're just excited for Saturday to get here and looking forward to a great atmosphere and hopefully a great game.
We look forward to it, Coach. Always a pleasure, and we look forward to our conversation with you again next week on the show, sir. Welcome back to Let Me Be Forward. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. We are into our supporters section again. We skipped it last week just because, of course, after that performance we saw from Ryan Coulter, we thought it was only fair to get him on the program. And it was great to get his influence on the show and get his thoughts about that match. We are back into the supporters section because, of course, with this coming Saturday being the home opener against Greenville, it's only fair that the supporters get some time once again to let us know how they are feeling, how the excitement is budding around them. And today, we introduce another supporters group. Today, we are talking with Konnor Arnaud-Leblanc. He is the founder, the fearless leader, the man that runs it all for Forward Union, one of the many supporter groups that are in the all-encompassing flock of Forward Madison. And Konnor joins us on the show today. Konnor, hello, how are you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. Pretty excited about this.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on the show. It's always great to have people in various supporters groups a part of the show, and just to hear from their perspectives. And I want to start first and foremost with what you were doing this last weekend, because obviously it was Easter weekend, but it looked like there was still some work to be done from Forward Union. Looks like you and the Flock and Labata were all over at James Madison Park in Madison doing a cleanup, but also I saw a little bit of pickup action. I saw that video was flying around also, but tell me about the event. Tell me what inspired you guys to get out and do this.
Yeah, so one of our core tenets within the union is, we believe that our club is a benefit to this community, and we should be no exception. And so we started looking for ways to make sure we were out there getting our hands dirty. One thing that Madison is full of is beautiful parks, and those beautiful parks need volunteering hands. So we took the opportunity to get out there, kind of celebrate Earth Day, and put our money where our mouth is, and pick up the trash that gets left behind. It's kind of surprising, and it's always fun to see what kind of gets left behind, and go from there. This was actually a launch for a monthly cleanup series that we're going to be doing for the warmer months of the year.
That's fantastic. And I love the fact that, like you said, you incorporated into what your threefold purpose is of the supporters group. And for those that maybe don't know, it's support the club, it's celebrate the sport, and serve the community. And you obviously were serving the community. And it's like you said, you're going to be doing this on a monthly basis, which I think is really great to see that this is a growing and consistent part. And my question always for supporters groups also is this something that's going to continue on even when the Forward Madison is not playing? Is this going to be just a seasonal thing? Is it going to happen year round? What type of things are you hoping to do in and out of season?
So, once play kind of ceases, that is usually the colder months, but so things like park cleanups and other initiatives that we're starting may subside, but other things will pick up in their place that tend to take place indoors. Or something else we've been kicking around is there is a local Adopt the Ice program that kind of gets you out into some of the parks that have ice that people can go and skate on, play hockey on, and you can kind of volunteer to clean those up. So that people can expect more fundraisers. Also expect some volunteer hours in local schools and things that we have kind of on the back burner now that will be coming to the forefront whenever the weather calls for it.
I noticed that Peter Wilt was at this last cleanup that you did, and I saw him with a big smile on his face during your short little pickup match video that you posted. Was he scouting any of you guys? Was he looking for some new players, or what is he? What was his words to you guys after you finished?
Well, first and foremost, big thanks to Peter for seeing this as a worthy cause for his time. We really appreciate him coming out, and in fact, I don't think Peter Wilt ever stopped scouting. But there was a certain 7-year-old that absolutely had his attention the moment that I got megged by him. So it was good laughs all around, and it was awesome seeing Peter there, and he was full of encouragement, very excited to see that these supporters groups are doing something for the community, because we all know how community driven he is.
Exactly right. Yeah, Peter Wilt is Mr. Soccer for a reason. I mean, he's always around, and I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised when I saw him there, and I'm like, all right, Peter, that makes sense that you'd have shown up there. I mean, I just kind of chuckled. I'm like, all right, it makes about sense that he'd be there. So I'm glad that he continues to be out and a part of what that is in the community, and just continue to be that ambassador also. I want to flip the direction of this for a second. I want to go more towards the team as a whole from a fan's perspective, obviously. That very first victory taking place over the weekend against Orlando. Where were you? What were your thoughts? What was the atmosphere when that final whistle blew, but also when Nunez scores that very first goal in club history?
Wow. So, I mean, obviously there was a ton of elation all around. It was an exciting time for us and for Forward Madison. That first goal, obviously I was jumping up and down. It's what you want to see. You want to see your team bringing back 3 points. You want to see stellar performances from your strikers, and especially from your keeper. Just kind of give another shout out to Ryan. But with that win, we still have those 2 losses on our backs from before that. Keep in reality that there is a lot to work on between now and the home opener. But we're confident, we're hopeful. We believe in our team, and we stand with our club first and foremost through it all. And, the hard work shows up every single week. And so we have no doubt that this excitement that we're feeling from this first win is really going to carry over strongly into the home opener. And, we'll be there with bells on.
How many estimated people are you thinking are going to come to this home opener? It's looking like a lot. Last kind of count we've gotten just in the supporter section alone, we're knocking on the doors of a few hundred just in the supporter section alone. And the club's been putting out updates of sections that are selling out left and right for this home opener. So it's they started the hashtag Fill Bree Stevens, and I kind of echoed that with the hashtag Fill the Flock End. And so I'm hoping that people see that very few tickets are left, and they jump on it, and we really actually do fill Bree Stevens and fill the Flock End. And I think that's phenomenal. Yeah, I keep seeing numerous people saying that they're going. I'm going to be there. Maddie's going to be there as well. We're bringing a couple of people with us, so it's going to be a lot of fun to be involved in that. And I'm excited to just sit in and just take the atmosphere in. And it's when you're doing stuff in the media, sometimes you don't always get to just let it all happen. But I think that atmosphere is going to just be so electric that it's going to be just contagious. And I think everyone's going to be running on this high the second they even get within 100 yards of Bree Stevens on Saturday.
Absolutely, and that's the hope. That's our goal as a supporters group, to kind of bring that atmosphere and bring that electricity We want to be loud, we want to be rowdy for the full 90 minutes because there's a role to be played as a supporters group as that 12th man, and we take that role very, very seriously over at the Union.
Final score prediction from you before we let you run?
I'm going to call it another 2-1 victory for Forward Madison.
There we go. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate the time today, sir. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, hopefully, on Saturday, and just the rest of the Flock supporters, and let's have some fun on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks, Baxter.
Time now for the Loon Report, your weekly look into Forward Madison Partner Club Minnesota United. Well, the Loons were part of one of the most ridiculous games in MLS this past weekend, losing 4-3 in a wet-soaked Toronto. Oh my goodness me, this was a game that I was watching this entire match and I was just beyond I can't even give enough words about this match, honestly. The changing of just the lead, the brilliant strikes that we saw from Pozuelo, my goodness, can you not ask for more entertaining soccer? Here's my big issue with this match, and I'm sure everybody is sitting here on these exact same things saying, talk about the red cards, and that's exactly what I'm going to say. Two stupid challenges by both of those players from Minnesota United. I've been in those situations before on the field, and it's just a silly, stupid mental mistake. I get it. Your team is losing. It's cold. It's raining. You're tired. You're pissed off at that point. But to cost your team 2 players with red cards, just use your brain and use your. It's so frustrating to see that because honestly, Minnesota United at this point can't really afford to be losing any of their players from red cards, let alone just from injuries as a whole, as they now find themselves farther down the standings. I mean, they're in 6th place in the Western Conference, but for how long? Sporting Kansas City and Real Salt Lake are knocking on the door. It was an embarrassing loss from a team that looked like they should have maybe stolen this match, but the defending looked poor at the second half, and quite honestly, Toronto FC looked like they wanted this win, and they did. They went out and they got it, and they all credit to them because of that. I do have one side caveat. Did anybody notice just how freaking massive Josie Altidore looks? Like, he just doesn't even look like he's in soccer shape. He looks like he should be playing football. He's a big freaking dude, and it's crazy to me to see that. But anyway, I digress. Minnesota United, they lose. They go to 3-1 on the season, and who knows what is going to be in store for the Loons now as they move forward. Their next match, they are looking at taking on the LA Galaxy, this one at Alliance Field. That's going to be fun when Zlatan comes to town. That game is actually today, Wednesday the 24th at 7 p.m. The Loons are then back in action again at Alliance Field on Sunday the 28th as they take on DC United. So 2 back-to-back home matches against the Galaxy and DC United. Hopefully 6 points coming out of that. If not, and maybe at least 3. You never know. With Wayne Rooney and Zlatan Ibrahimovic coming to town, anything is possible. That's your weekly look in on the Loon Report of Forward Madison Partner Club Minnesota United. Part of the show where we talk about what took place this last weekend in USL. No, I'm just kidding. It's the part where we talk about Forward Madison getting their first victory of the season. Oh my gosh. Are you still not super excited? Because I know I'm just beyond hyped. And I'll be honest, I had tweeted out before the game that I likely wasn't going to be able to watch the game because I was feeling sick and I was not feeling the very... there's a neurovirus or there's something going on in this area that has just been kicking everybody's butt, and it was my turn to get it. But the good news is that it actually worked out for me that I was able to watch most of the match, and I was a bit surprised that I was able to do so. I was on the couch, I was on the floor, I was just in a bad state, but I was able to watch most of the match. I didn't get to see either of the goals in real time, so I was a little bummed by that. I did see the penalty kick goal, which... whatever, neither here nor there. We'll get to that in a second. But I was just thrilled, though, that I was able to catch more of the match than I thought I was going to be able to. So here's my takeaways from this Orlando match. The first half, Orlando was essentially not doing a whole lot in the first couple of minutes, but then all of a sudden they started to get these couple of half chances that they couldn't fully link up, and they were getting far more aggressive as the first half drew on, especially after they got that first penalty kick. And I was like, okay, this is going to be maybe same mess, different week, unfortunately, if you're Forward Madison. But thankfully, that ended up not being the case. Of course, with that penalty kick goal in before halftime, you've got a 1-0 lead going into halftime for OCB. And I think they were thinking they were riding pretty high. I think they also realized that they just got away with highway robbery, and they were not going to go and confess anytime soon, because between you, me, the doorman, the mouse over there, and everybody else in the world, that wasn't a penalty kick. There's no possible way when the defender falls down first because the offensive player is pushing him, is that a penalty kick? And my heart goes out to Konnor Tobin because he's now 0 for 2 on penalty kicks. And good Lord, Ryan did his best job. Obviously, he guessed the wrong way, but I was happy because two things happened. When this penalty kick was called, nobody on Forward Madison really reacted in a negative light. And I thought that was fascinating to me because when a penalty kick is called, the number one thing you always want to do is watch everybody on the opposing team who just had the call against them. Sometimes you will get the just reaction, the flailing of the hands, the just unbelief, like, how could you say that? How could that be a penalty kick? Are you blind? But I was fascinated because nobody really reacted in a negative way. And then when the penalty kick was converted, Ryan didn't really react in a bad way. The defense didn't react in a bad way. There was still plenty of time. So that was encouraging to me because I was like, okay, this team is not getting down on themselves early in the match like we see so many other teams do across all divisions, not just in USL 1. And that was fascinating to me. That goes back to good coaching. That goes back to Daryl Shore, like we heard previously in the show, having not only good players, but good people on this roster. So that was a big gold star moment for me right there when I saw that happen. What really got me going, though, is when Forward Madison scores the first goal. Obviously, there's just joy and just overall excitement, but they still reacted like there was still work to be done. And I saw this really consistently throughout the entire match, that nobody was really content until the final whistle blew. And it wasn't until the final whistle blew that they finally realized, hey, we did it. This game is ours. Shaun Russell, I mean, you scored the game-winning goal, son. Get up and get excited. And he got pretty excited right away, and obviously his teammates are rallying around him, and it was just a really amazing scene to be a part of. But he was still very professional about it, and he was still very, I feel like, more reserved than I would have been if I had scored the game-winning goal. Granted that there was still enough time left in that match that OCB could have gone and tied the game or whatever. It's soccer. Anything can happen at any given minute, right? I mean, ask Orlando 2 weeks ago. Tormenta scored in the 94th minute after Orlando thought they had won the match. It happens. Happens all the time. So if you're Forward Madison, this game is a great example of how you can beat a team that you're supposed to beat, how you can play a man down despite calls going against you. You can continuously bombard an opposing goal, 13 total shots, 7 on target, and you continue to reassure the fact that Nunes is an absolute threat and just an absolute master when it comes to set pieces. More so free kicks. I do think the corner kick game for Forward Madison is not very strong, and I just see a lot of overhit balls, and I don't see like there's ever a lot of purpose. And it always felt like Orlando was the first to every ball that was sent in on the corner kicks. Something to maybe think about. Some of the Forward Madison players that were going up for the corner kicks, not super tall. I know Eric Leonard joked about it on social media. He's only 5'9", but Eric Leonard's only 5'9". He's not always going to win those bigger up battles against some of those tall center backs or even to some of the taller midfielders. So my thoughts in that regards is that, listen, this was a game that Forward Madison was supposed to win, and they did. So I think that is ultimately the biggest piece that you can be happy about. Let's look ahead to Greenville because this is interesting. Greenville, they're coming off of a loss on the weekend, and they were, I was, I guess, a little surprised, but did you see the game against Richmond? If you didn't, you go back and watch the highlights because it was a very just bombastic, very back and forth game, but it was fascinating to me because Greenville seems to be one of the most inconsistent teams in the league. They lose 1-0 the first week to Tormenta. They beat Lansing Ignite 2-1. They beat Chattanooga 1-0, and now they lose to Richmond 1-0. I'd like to think that the teams that they've lost to, Richmond, I think, is the worst of the 4 teams that they've played out of those 4. Tormenta, maybe the best team, I think, out of those 4. But, you're looking at top 3 teams, top 4 teams that they've played already. And then Richmond, is a decent mid-table team. But I'm not sure if we have a proper reading on what Greenville is capable of doing yet, because this club has some decent firepower, as we've seen. That's what Coach was telling us about, and we know that this team has only scored 3 goals, and 2 of them have come from Jake Keegan. 2 goals in 4 appearances. Kevin Pullitz has 1 goal. So they're getting some goals, but at the same time, obviously you've played 4 games, and when you get shut out, in 2 of the 4 games, that causes a little bit of concern. Obviously, Forward Madison doesn't have much to speak about, of course, as they were shut out in 2 of their 3 matches. But I think what makes it interesting, and what Coach mentioned also, is that when you look at this roster for Forward Madison and the potential that Greenville might be playing 3 in the back, you then have to beg the question, who takes over Don Smart's role? I think it could be a couple of different people. I think you could very easily shift one of the main attackers wide. You've seen guys, I think you might even see Bartley maybe slide wide and play that top piece. I don't think you take Nunez out of the midfield because he's played exceptionally well, and he and J.C. Banks did a great job in the last match. I don't know if there's many other true players. You could I don't think you start Toyama in this game, honestly. I think Toyama hasn't, in my mind, I don't think Toyama has done enough that he could be a starter. But with Don Smart gone, that does raise a lot of questions. Paulo's going to stay probably on the left, Toye to stay up top. Banks and Nunez play in the middle there. Leonard, Diaz, Russell, Tobin, Manley. I don't think anybody really changes there. Yeah, I could see Toyama. I could see, maybe Bartley. Maybe Brian Bemin if you wanted to slide the formation around a little bit. But Bemin's not really a right wing guy. So my guess is either Toyama or it's going to be Bartley on that right wing replacing Don Smart. So I'm curious to see what that does. What's my prediction for this week? Well, I think Greenville is going to bring a lot of pressure. I think Greenville is going to score at least 1 goal. But I'm riding the confidence factor that I feel like this is a match that Forward Madison can win and will win. But I think it's not going to be an easy match. The drama side of me wants to say it's a 3-2 victory with it being tied 2-2, and then Forward Madison gets that walk-off goal at the end of the match. I think that's the game everybody wants to see. I think 2-1 is an appropriate match score in this one. I could see Forward Madison scoring early. I can see Greenville tying it up. And then I can see Forward Madison once again banging a goal in maybe mid to late second half. I think this is a great day, a great opportunity for J.C. Banks to finally get his first goal. I think it'd be a great opportunity for Toye. I think it would be a great opportunity for Paulo Jr., obviously. This could go in so many different directions, but I think it would be really special, especially if you see a guy, like I said, like J.C. Banks, Wisconsin native, playing in his first, you get that match at home, the first USL match in Wisconsin. I think that would be a special moment if J.C. Banks is able to capitalize. I'm sure most of his family is going to be there. Why not? Have a day, J.C. Banks. You've come within literally inches of getting a ball in the back of the net a couple of times this season. So I would love to see JC go ahead and cap one in this week. What are your predictions? I'd love to hear about it at Baxter Colburn, at Let Me Be Forward on the Twitterverse. Our poll question this week was pretty mild compared to most poll questions that we ask. We asked the question this week, we said, are you going to the Forward Madison home opener this weekend against the Greenville Triumph? At the time of recording, 166 of you have voted. 51% of you had said, me, yes, I'm going. I will be there. So I'm a little bummed because I was really kind of hoping that more it would, I mean, there's going to be over several thousand people that attend this game, but I was just fascinated to see that there still is a pretty close margin of people that will and will not be there. If you're not going, I highly recommend you find a way to get there. I see Erin, a loyal listener of the show. She said she's going. I'm really excited for her to be there. I'm really hoping to be able to meet her. I'm really hoping to be able to meet just a lot of different people, honestly, when we get there. Obviously, Konnor that we talked to today. Of course, Andrew with the flock. The list goes on and on and on. I know we've got a great amount of supporters for this show, and that means a lot to me. And I really hope that we continue to do the best show that we can on our ends to make you want to be able to continue to support what we're doing. With that being said, like I said, I think that this is a game that we should see Forward Madison win 2-1. That's my official prediction for the week. I do want to let you know we are going to be at the game, but more importantly, we are going to be doing a very big and special promotion. So there's going to be 4 of us from Let Me Be Forward at this game. Myself, Maddie's going to be there, and then 2 of our colleagues, Jessica's going to be there, and Liz is going to be there. We're all going to have Let Me Be Forward shirts on walking around, and we're going to have tickets. And it's pretty straightforward. It's 1 ticket if you show us on your smart device that you are subscribed to Let Me Be Forward. You get another ticket if you like us on Facebook. You get another ticket if you follow us on Instagram. And you get a final 4th ticket if you follow us on Twitter. If you can bring your phone to us and show us that, you'll be given, like I said, 1 ticket for each. You get a max of 4 tickets that you can get. You'll be entered into a drawing at the match to win a Let Me Be Forward shirt signed by numerous, if not all parties, or rather players, on Forward Madison. Right? I know. Did you just say, what? Because I just blew my own mind by saying that. So that's the deal. You have to find me, Maddie, Jess, or Liz. We'll all be rocking around, probably all close to each other. Like I said, we'll have the shirts on. If you can show us on your phone that you are subscribed on whatever podcast platform that you listen to, and here, I've told people that I would do this. I will give a bonus 5th ticket out if you give us a 5-star rating, and I'll just give us a 5-star rating. You can leave a review if you want to. That's on your own time. But so there's 5 ways to get a ticket. So show us that you've subscribed. Show us that you've liked the page on Facebook, followed us on Instagram, followed us on Twitter, and if you've given us a 5-star review. You do all of those things, and you can get up to 5 tickets to be entered into the drawing. The drawing will take place during the match, and we will make sure that shirt gets to you. There will be a second separate drawing throughout the match just for a Let Me Be Forward shirt, and we'll make sure to get that out to you as well. If, of course, you have any questions, you can find all of us throughout the match or just reach out to us on our social media platforms. Well, that's all the time we got for this episode of Let Me Be Forward. It's been a great show this week. A big thank you once again to Daryl Shore, Shaun Russell, as he sat down with our wonderful Maddie Cum. Konnor Arnaud-Leblanc was here from Forward Union supporters. Of course, another amazing supporters group of the just flock of Forward Madison supporters. I want to say Let Me Be Forward supporters. I feel like you guys all kind of support what we're doing, right? Kind of? Sure? Hopefully? Yeah. I have statistics that prove that several hundred of you every week show up and listen to our show, so thank you for that. That's always incredible. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find Let Me Be Forward. For Maddie Cum, for all of us at Public House Media, I am Baxter Colburn. I will see you on Saturday. Yes, I will be there. Maddie will be there. Let's have some fun on Saturday night in Madtown. Signing off. See you Saturday.